Welcome to the Advance Your Art podcast, where we talk about the journey from artist to entrepreneur and everything in between. You've worked hard to hone your craft. Now take it to the next level with tips, techniques, strategies, and routines used by successful artists to grow their businesses and careers. Now, let's get started and have some fun with your host, Yuri Cataldo.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Advance Your Art with Yuri Cataldo. If you're interested in learning how to build your company, make money from your art, or transition to a new career, you've come to the right place. If you like this episode, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Today, I'm sitting down with Jas Takhar. Takhar, I should get that right the first time. Author, real estate investment broker, and founder of Rec Canada. Jas, welcome to the show. How are you?
Amazing, Yuri. Thank you so much for having me, my man. I always like to say to people that doesn't matter how you pronounce my name, just call me, get in touch with me. So thank you. And just a big kudos to you, man, because I myself am a content creator. I produce a little over 15, 20 pieces of content on all the platforms. And I know how hard it is, man, and the effort that you need to put in, and the consistency. And so just a big kudos and congratulations to you for spreading positivity and optimism, man.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. This is great. So for my listeners who are not familiar with what you do and who you are, how do you describe yourself and what you do?
Well, I love long walks on beaches, and so I'm an entrepreneur, really kind of a salesman at heart. I've been doing like sales and in the industry of sales and service for 25 years, like formally for 25 years, but. Look, I think I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, two little boys, and I think my 4-year-old specifically is probably the best salesman I've ever come across, because he just doesn't take no for an answer, and he figures out different ways to get what he wants. He's so persistent, and I think we all were like that, right, as kids. But somewhere along the way, we were either told that this is not the way to do it, you should stop asking for things, or you're asking too much. And then we got insecure, right? As we get older, you get insecure because you start to realize certain things about your behavior, your characteristics, or physically. And then you start to shy away from speaking to the world. And for me, I just never stopped it. I was that 6-year-old kid that loved the time when teachers would say, okay, who wants to go knock on doors and try to sell ornaments? I was like, I would be the first one. Who wants to work the book fair? I'm the first one. Like, and look, I mean, looking back now, I'm 38 years old. There was a pattern, not only a pattern because I liked speaking with people and so on and so forth, but there was also a pattern. I probably just wanted to get out of class, like, because I didn't learn that way. It wasn't interactive enough for me, right? Like, I'm watching a teacher on the board and they're dictating something to me. That's just not the way that I learned. In fact, as I grew older into my like teenage years, the courses and the classes that I did really well at, Yuri, were the ones where the teacher would stay back with me and spend that one-on-one time with me, because I needed that. I needed that extra time with teachers. And so I'm a huge avid learner. I still to this day consume a lot of, before it was reading books, now it's audiobooks and podcasts, because I like to apply net, like no extra time. So while I'm driving, while I'm just going for a walk, I can throw on the headphones or listen, because I got a 40-minute drive in to work, 40-minute drive back out. And I like to consume as much positive information as I can, especially at the time of this recording. I mean, there's a lot of negativity going on, and if it wasn't a lockdown because of a pandemic, it would be something else. Right. And so I'm always, I should do a food diet, as you can tell, but I definitely have always been on a news diet. I really don't know much. You and I were talking off air about cases and numbers and stuff. I really don't pay any attention to it because it's not in my control. And so I'm a big believer of living in what you can control, because everything else, like, who cares? Like, it doesn't really matter. And at the end of the day, you can only really move the needle from the aspect of what you can control.
Right. Awesome. Well, thank you. So it's what I like so far that you already mentioned that. So you're very prolific in, it seems like, everything in your life, which is absolutely amazing. What I've noticed a lot of people right now are happening is they're being overwhelmed by, let's say, like whatever their life is, and then the pandemic on top of it. So in everything that you're doing, how do you maintain your drive and this marathon that you're doing with a lot of different areas in your life?
There's a couple of things. I'm very grateful. Like, I'm sitting here with Yuri from Boston right now. Like, look, my world has taken me all over the place. I say my world, right? Has taken me right around the world. And so I'm very grateful. I hit the lottery a long time ago, right? Like, which was my parents moving to Canada from India. And my father was a taxi driver. My mother was a factory worker. And for me, being born in Canada, in a very multicultural country, specifically in the city of Toronto, which is not the capital, but it's definitely the financial heartbeat of the country. And sometimes I get razzed on because I think Toronto's the best, but I'm obviously biased. I'm born and raised there. And we had a great basketball team last year, so that's always an added on plus. But for me, as I mentioned, I hit that lottery, man. Like, my parents, I'm a son. There's three boys. I'm the youngest. So having two older brothers is always a healthy reminder, right, that you're closer to the bottom than you are to the top. But just loved on a consistent basis. My parents, both of them, never really reprimanded me for not going past high school or even in school. They said, just do your best, try your best. Like, there is something, like my father would say it a lot to me, like, there's something that you're going to be really good at. And he didn't really know the concept of going all in on it, but he's like, we'll find out, we'll figure it out. It's obviously not going to be school. We can tell by your grades. And it's not like, but you don't even really care. Like, I didn't really care, but he didn't let me get away with just not going to class. Like, I did get, punished for that kind of stuff, but just a lot of love. I'm very grateful, man. So even in times like this, or if I'm in real estate sales and we run a pretty big organization here, myself and my business partner, if things don't go our way, we got a client doesn't do a deal, or we had a big event we put on and it failed. We're like, man, I got two boys. I got two healthy boys. I got a lot of family. Like, I live in gratefulness consistently throughout the day, and that just keeps me motivated. Now everything else is a bonus.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. That's absolutely a fantastic way to look at it and to think through. So let's get into then what you're doing now. So you've talked about you being let's say into sales most of your life. What got you into real estate now, and particularly being an investment broker?
Yeah, so it's been 15 years that I've been an investment broker, and I've always liked real estate investing. So my parents, not a lot of education, like grade 4 education for my mom, grade 8 or grade 9. I've been being asked, so I can ask my dad exactly which grade. But back home in India, like it's nobody really keeps track of these things, man. And so the one thing they knew though is to buy real estate and rent it out. And so my direct family, my parents, my cousins, my uncles, it was always around. So I understood the concept. You buy it, and then somebody else pays your mortgage. So you're not actually paying the mortgage. Now, there's a lot of intricacies involved in renting out properties, and we can talk about that ad nauseam. But what drove me into real estate was that I always wanted to be an investor. I wanted to invest in real estate. I understood that wealth is created, and this is like in my when I'm about 18, 19, I really wanted to start investing into real estate, but I just didn't have the cash. I didn't have the education, and so I started selling cars. Following that journey in sales and service. And I was there for about 3 years. One of the best businesses that I've ever been in is in the car business. And after 3 years of that, I noticed that I was getting capped, right? Like the guys that were there for 15 years, there was a ceiling on what they were making. And me being very ambitious, I was like, man, like I don't see myself here for 15 years. And if I do, and I'm only going to be able to make that much, then this is not going to be for me for the long term. Funny how life works and the universe works, because I always like to say that like attracts like. So as I started to put that out in the world, get that feeling where it was like, okay, I want more, I want more. In 1 month, in 30 days, I sold 4 cars to real estate agents, okay? But not just any real estate agents, like uber successful real estate agents. So as they're buying their car, I get to see their credit applications. I'm seeing what they're making. I'm like, holy crap, like 2 out of the 4, like all 4, just amazing people, very like willing to share. But 2 of them, English was probably their 3rd language.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, I'm not real, like I don't speak English that well, but I'm much better than these guys. I think I do. I'm confident there. I like people. I know how to like be very passionate. I am very passionate. I can influence. I get all that. But I'm going to try my hand at real estate sales, because I'm like looking at this credit application. I'm like, holy crap. Like, and you know, at that time, you always think everything's easier, right? You think the grass is always greener. And so I registered to become, to get my license in real estate. What I thought I was also registering for was learning how to invest. It was nothing even close to that. The book came in the mail and says, how to be a real estate agent. And I was like, okay, this is only that. I'm going to do it. I paid $400 or $500 for it at that time. And so I got into real estate sales. I got very lucky again. And look, I mean, I'm not going to take away how hard I work, but there is some luck involved, like with my parents. And then I met a gentleman who took me under his wing, in like actual sales of real estate. So being a real estate agent. And at that time, I did that for 2 years, like really under his wing. I was his right hand man, taught me a lot about the business. And I started to meet other investors, and I started getting into investing in real estate.
Yeah, wonderful. So then let's talk about your book then, because I know you also have a book that goes along with this. What made you want to, and there it is, what made you want to write a book and to put that out there?
It actually came out of necessity, because that book is about all things on how to buy a home, sell a home, and invest a home. I got tired of answering the same questions over and over and over again. It came out of necessity. I said, look, I'm going to write a book about talking about, like, answering all the questions that we get. And so what came out of it was I'm actually going to teach people how to do it on their own, because I don't want it to be a salesy book, like every other page. Call me, call that. That's just not who I am. Till this day, the content that I produce, the conversations I have, it's all like, I'm just going to give you the value and let karma play itself out. And so the book actually teaches people how to buy their own home, sell their own home, and invest. I don't even charge for the book. It's free. There's no cost for it. There's an audio book for it. There's an ebook as well as a hard copy. So if any of your listeners ever want it, just get in touch with Yuri, and I'll make sure I get that over to you. It doesn't matter where you are in the world, we'll get it over to you. And so it came out of necessity. And in fact, what we realized is that people really have a lot of thirst. Like the thirst for real estate knowledge is so vast and intense. And what I mean by intense is, like, if you look at the most viewed videos on YouTube, I'm going to say, like, there's like it's real estate porn, I call it, right? Like, people just want to get to see some of these luxurious homes, so on and so forth, but they also want to learn how to create wealth. And so we're in the process as we speak right now. We're probably about 2 to 3 months away from completing it. I'm writing a 2.0 version of that book, which is all investing. So we're going to dive into how to get started, how to build out a team, how to what strategies to look at. Look, at the end of the day, and I'm not going to be selling that book. And so if somebody says, look, I don't want to read it, here's the nuts and bolts of it, really. The Reader's Digest version of the book, so to speak, which is build out a team, get educated, because that mitigates risk. But at the end of the day, you have to take the leap of faith, because nothing is guaranteed.
Gotcha. So that brings up a very good point. And you've already kind of tipped into my next question, which is people who want to get started. The best thing you said was to get educated. Obviously, reading your book, number one part, listening to your podcast. But besides that, what other some tidbits or places that you recommend people go so they can educate themselves with this market?
The most interesting thing that I found about real estate investors is how much they like to share their story. I'm very lucky enough to have a pretty cool, like a pretty big Rolodex of real estate